You're listening to the Nothing But Good podcast, a show that believes you should know where your food comes from, or more specifically, who it comes from. Each week, we bring you new interviews with the makers and founders of the brands you love so you can see how they came to be and what makes them different. We focus on telling the stories of emerging brands and brands who are committed to using better for you ingredients in the snacks they create. Every episode of the Nothing But Good podcast is brought to you by O Goodie Box, a snack box subscription service that sends healthier snacks directly to your home or office so that you have the fuel you need to make your greatest impact each day. Order your first box at ogoodiebox.com and use code PODCAST for 15% off your first order. That's OGoodie, OHGOODIE box.com and code PODCAST for 15% off your first order. Now grab a snack and let's get to today's show. All right, Amanda, well, thank you so much for being on the show. For everyone listening and watching, would you mind telling them about you and Slow Foods Kitchen?
Thanks for having me, Jennifer. I'm super excited. So my name is Amanda. I am the co-owner of Slow Foods Kitchen. We make plant-based snacks, specifically kale chips. And it's my mom is my partner, and we're located in Florida. And so we make superfoods for serious snackers. Whether you're a carnivore or a vegan, doesn't matter. We want to make vegan snacks accessible to everybody.
I love that. I love serious. What was it? It was serious snacks or for serious
Superfoods for serious snackers.
superfoods for serious snackers. I love that. Well, what were you doing before you started Slow Foods Kitchen? And then I want to hear all about how you guys got started and how you ended up working with your mom.
I had just graduated college and I got a marketing job out of school, part-time digital media. So that's what I was doing before. And I worked there for about a year and a half. And then my boss, he told me, he's like, one day you're going to quit and leave me to start your own business. And I was like, no way, never. You work all the time. You don't sleep. No, I'm not doing that. And then about 6 months later, I quit, started my own business. Uh, so the tipping point, the reason we started our business was I was 21 years old and my mom met me for dinner and told me my dad was diagnosed with Alzheimer's. And so that was life shattering.
Yeah.
And that's why we started. So we started to make healthy snacks for him because we knew how important diet was. My mom went out and bought a super expensive raw food cookbook. And then we realized how expensive it was. So we started to make our own plant-based snacks at home. And we just kept going. We started going to farmers markets all over Tampa Bay. And at one point we just thought, you know what, this is working. We should just commit. And that's how we got started. My mom sold the family farm, moved into a bigger city because we were out in Duet, Florida, which is tiny, and converted her garage into a commercial kitchen. And that's when our business became official. So, and that's why she's my partner also, because it was our
Wow.
idea, made it happen.
That is intense. A commercial kitchen in your garage is no joke. That's like a lot of work.
Yeah, it is. I mean, the building was already there. It wasn't as not quite as much, and it's a huge space. It's not just like a one-car garage, but the building was already there. It just came with the house. It was the perfect setup. But it is. You have to put in firewalls. We had to build walls, put in doors to meet all the codes. But it's a pretty legit garage kitchen.
That's amazing. And so you go and you start this business. What kind of made you knew that you wanted to make healthy snacks for your dad, but can we dig into a little bit of that? Like what was the how did you know that plant-based foods would help?
We knew that like what you eat matters and you are what you eat. And we've heard it before and it just started to click. So we grew up on a farm and we ate eggs and potatoes and meat and mac and cheese and things that just were not healthy. And so my mom, the first thing she wanted to do was, what can we holistically do to heal my dad? And so
Mhm.
food was step number one. And so that's why we started with snacks.
So good. And I love the idea of like it was too expensive, so you just started to do it yourself. And then I think a lot of times there's a barrier for people who want to eat healthy, they have this notion that it's too expensive to eat healthy. And so, what would you say to somebody who wants to start like eating better, but is afraid that their budget can't sustain it?
I would tell them to make their own food or try other cuisines. Like when you think American food, hamburgers and potatoes, or you think like vegan food today, like the vegan burgers and the vegan burritos and all the processed frozen vegan foods, those are expensive. I don't buy them because they're expensive and they're not necessarily healthy either. But when you look at other cuisines like Mexican food, they're not eating a lot of meat either, but they're eating rice and beans and vegetables. So think about foods that you like if you like burritos, but you fill them with chicken, look at other alternatives. It doesn't have to be expensive, it can be very affordable. It just takes a little bit of work, especially if you're not used to it and you have chicken. Like my husband has chicken with every single meal.
Hmm.
He's like, I could never switch. But when I started slowly adding in vegetables and other meal items, that's what I would say. Along with slowly, like people think, oh, I have to go vegan overnight, which you don't. If you want to, you can. But if you start slowly, it makes it more sustainable and it gives you time to learn. You think, okay, I can slowly add in more vegetables. I can slowly eat less eggs. Like whatever your goal is, makes it more practical too.
I love that. Such good advice. I've definitely been someone guilty in the well, I'd say in the past, but still now, where I'm learning about food and the like why what you eat matters, and so I'm like, let's just purge everything. Let's just start from scratch, which seems like a good idea in the moment, but it's just not sustainable because you don't have the knowledge or the tools to back it up. It's just because you heard one podcast or you read one book, it doesn't mean that you're all of a sudden a guru who can make all of those changes overnight and sustain them. You might be able to do it for a day or two, but then life happens and you go right back to your old habits. At least that's my experience. So I love the idea of going slow. And in regards to slow, how did you guys come up with the name for Slow Foods Kitchen?
Our original name was Tara's Harvest. Tara like the earth, Terra. And for some reason, I don't remember. We didn't like it. We didn't love it or something. Maybe it was trademarked. I'm not sure. So then we're like, okay, slow. Raw food is slow. It's dehydrated. Okay, slow. It's food, and we make it in the kitchen. It was just there was not really a big
I actually
motive behind it.
I actually really love that though. Just from even just an entrepreneur aspect, it's like I think sometimes people think about starting a business and it gets so overwhelming and they're just like, well, what would I even name it or what would the website look like? And it's like, no, if you have a good product like you guys do with your kale chips, it's like, no, the name you'll figure it out and it can just be something like, okay, it's slow, it's food and it's made in the kitchen, Slow Foods Kitchen, and bada bing bada boom.
Yeah.
It doesn't have to be this, well, like since 1990 whatever. That's not even a long time ago. I was trying to go for an old time 1990s.
Oh, 1990 is not that long ago.
I was thinking like 1900s, but that's so bad anyway.
That's
That's
funny.
embarrassing. We
Uh,
oh my
yeah.
gosh. Well, so how long have you guys been in business then? How long has Slow Foods been around?
It'll be 5 years in April.
Wow.
That's our official. We've been in our new kitchen it'll be 3 years in April. We started very slow, taking care of my dad and trying to run the business. It was almost impossible because
Yeah.
he lived at home and it was difficult, which was good. We didn't have this huge pressure to quit our jobs and then go into a business. So we slowly worked, slowly developed our recipes. But we've stuck around. So it'll be 5 years, April 27th.
That's so good. Congratulations. Oh, that's a long
Thanks.
time. So how has it been for you leaving like your corporate job? Like how do you like having your own business?
I love it. I never really had the real 9 to 5 corporate job. So at my marketing company, I was a contractor part time. So I was eased into the make my own schedule, get to work whenever I want. I never had to be there at 9 and work all day. So I'm a
Nice.
little spoiled, I think. I was like, yeah, this is just how people work. My parents never had a corporate job. They ran the family farm. Um, but I did work for other people. And so now I really love working for myself.
I love
It's
it.
difficult, you don't make as much money. I have to work, sometimes I work nights, sometimes I work weekends. But overall, I love it. I mean, the freedom and flexibility of making my own schedule. I mean, sometimes I still have to go to work, but
Sure.
I could do this call. I could have breakfast with my husband. Like I can do other things. So I love it. I don't know that I could ever go back. I think about like, oh, what if something happened with my business? What would I do? It would not be going to a 9 to 5.
You would start another business.
I I would start a mobile swim school teaching swim lessons.
I love
I
that.
already have my second business started. That's my backup plan, but
That's a great backup
yeah,
plan.
yeah. That's my career. I've been teaching for about 10 years. So
Oh,
if
wow.
something were to happen, I'm ready to go. But that's not the plan.
I love it. Are you still teaching right now?
Yeah, I do still have some clients now.
Oh, wow. That's awesome.
Yeah, I love
That's
it.
so good.
I'm on to kale, making kale chips.
On to kale, all about the kale chips. Well, for your kale chips, how do they differentiate from other brands on the market, or what makes them unique just from other snacks that might be on the same chip aisle? Or are they even on a chip aisle? I don't know.
Yep, they're on the chip aisle. If they were to be in a big grocery store, to be like the chip aisle, unless maybe they had a plant-based aisle. But generally, the chip aisle. The biggest couple of the differences is that our products are small batch, and so we are making them by hand. We don't have any big equipment yet, so they're still very small batch, which keeps our quality great, and we don't have to worry about something happening or going wrong. And that's what we want to keep in our processes, even as we scale. Biggest difference though is our ingredients. If you see other brands, they're using seeds and they're using like pasteurized lemon juice, powdered garlic. Those are their ingredients. Whereas for our savory kale chips, we're using fresh squeezed lemon juice. We squeeze ourselves because you can't buy raw lemon juice; it has to be pasteurized. We're using whole cloves of garlic, so in it you really can taste the difference. So that's our biggest differentiator.
I feel like that's a huge difference.
It
Just
is.
using actual garlic instead of garlic powder or fresh squeeze. Like you're actually out there squeezing lemon juice. That's pretty impressive.
We yeah, we are.
That just seems
Yeah,
very fresh to me. It's like you can taste that freshness.
you can, and it's you really can taste it. It's easy to buy powdered ingredients. You can buy every ingredient you think of powdered. They're
Yeah,
all out there, but they taste like they're powdered, or they're not. They don't have that freshness, and so that's important. That's why we started was to have a healthy, nutrient dense snack. So we want to carry that through in our ingredients.
I love that. And as you're looking to grow slow foods, are there any other product lines you want to bring out, or are you guys any other flavors for the kale chips?
Yeah, so we all three of our flavors right now have nuts in them. They have cashews. So our next flavor two will have no nuts, be a nut-free version. Because there's a lot of vegans who have to be vegan, or a lot of snackers who can't eat nuts. When you look at vegan snacks, they all have nuts. It's easy. Cashews are super easy to work with. They're bland. They take on flavor. But that means you have a hard time finding nut-free snacks. So nut-free kale chips is our next flavor. And then we have some other snacks we had launched before. So we're relaunching our pumpkin seeds.
Ooh,
And we have a grain-free granola. So we used to have so many products and all of the things in every direction, and we stopped into just kale chips. So we're bringing back a couple of those. And then I think from there we'll expand our kale chip flavors. And then who knows?
I
You
love
might
it.
just it's a surprise to everybody.
That's awesome. Well, how did you like you said you kind of were going like in multiple directions. What made you decide to scale it down just to the kale chips?
It was too much. We had a vegan
Yeah.
taco. We made the shell, the filling, the sauce, the guac. We had a pumpkin tart, and so we had to make the tart and cut them and freeze them and send them out. What else do we have? We had collard chips. Well, we were like, "Ooh, we're so cool. We have collard chips. Nobody else has that." Well, nobody else has that for a reason. They are very labor intensive, more expensive. They don't taste quite as good. And so we were doing farmers markets, and that was our market. We went to multiple markets, and after a while, it just got too much. We just couldn't attend a market every single weekend, prep all of the ingredients, and then you either sell out or you sell nothing. And that was about the time we had the kitchen certified. So we said, you know what, we're going to scale back and do less products well and focus on distribution over multiple little markets.
I love that.
Yeah,
And so
until yeah.
it's so smart. And with the distribution, how has that been? Has it been like how do you get into stores or how do you get into distribution channels?
It has been good. It's been really good. So our first step was we just literally went on people's doors and knocked on them. Please buy my kale chips. Will you buy my kale chips? I will give them to you. So that's how we started. We just went out. I had one client find me, and I was like, wow, this is amazing. This is what people do. They just take phone calls. And then we got on other channels like Etsy and Fair, Tundra,
Interesting.
and those are almost self-driving. The platform pushes you out. But now we just got in with C&S wholesalers, and so we did that through a ECRM trade show.
Okay.
Because getting hold of buyers is hard. They're busy. They only take certain products. You have to call during a certain time of year. But doing the trade show got us into a distributor. So that's our next step, is taking the big step, going to trade shows, meeting with the buyer, giving your sample right to the buyer. And
Wow.
that's our next plan for growing into more distributors across the nation.
That's so exciting. And I'm like wowed by Etsy and Fair. Like I know of those, but I don't typically think of food on those platforms. I think of someone like making a scarf or like knitting a beanie kind of thing. So I'm just like I love
Yeah,
that
they
it's a
do.
platform for food as well.
There is some food. There's some kale chips on there, some like vegan snacks, a lot of t-shirts. Like, I'm vegan. Most time you get t-shirts, um, which I bought a lot of t-shirts from there. So at first it was just like a test. It's not my biggest source of revenue. Fair
Okay.
is definitely way bigger because then you're getting in with smaller stores across the country. And it's a win-win for everybody because they can buy smaller orders and then we can drop ship across the country.
I love that. So,
Yeah.
people buying on Fair might be like smaller grocery stores or like coffee shops or just even like I'm thinking like local stores that sell like a mixture of things.
Yeah, that's basically all of our clientele. I've had a juice bar, a coffee shop, multiple coffee shops and juice bars. I had like a tourist spot. They have snacks and goodies, and you pop in to buy a gift and a snack and maybe lunch. A
So cool.
hotel actually just purchased, so their guests who come in are hungry and they have snacks for them.
I love that. Well, gosh, for
Yeah.
anyone listening and they want to purchase some of your very fresh kale chips, where would they find you guys? What's the best platform for them to go and purchase?
Our website would be the best, slowfoodskitchen.com. But you can also find them on Amazon if you want to, if you can't wait and you need them in 2 days, or walmart.com. We're on
Oh,
a lot of the platforms, but the best place would be on our website.
amazing. Well, we'll make sure to send everybody there into your Instagram. Before we let you go, is there anything that you'd want the listeners to know about your brand, about your family, anything that we haven't covered that you're just like, oh man, I wish they knew that?
I think the biggest thing is that a lot of people and eaters feel like maybe they want to go vegan or vegetarian, or they have to do it overnight, or they can't tell their vegan friends about it because some vegans can be very pressuring. Like, how could you have one egg if your sandwich came out with meat on it? How come you still ate it? Like, the vegan community can be very harsh sometimes.
Hmm.
And so I'm actually not a vegan. I know it's surprising. I know. But that's what makes our brand so great, is that if you come to me and you want a recipe or you just have questions on how you can be more vegan, like, I'm not going to judge you and say, well, you just have to stop eating chicken today. We want to create a community of snackers no matter where you come from. Yeah, so that's super important. So if you feel like you've been pushed out of other communities, you just have questions, or you want to, you know, talk about food together, we can do that.
I love that. Well, gosh, thank you so much. As you were saying that, I realized there was one part on your website that I absolutely loved when you're talking about how people live a snacktive life where they're active and they need food to fuel them on the go. Who came up with that? Like, who are you doing your website or?
We do everything. So I do all the front end marketing, advertising. I'm listing on Etsy and all those places. And my
Yeah,
mom is more back of the house, accounting, inventorying, all that other less fun stuff. So I do the website, but my friend Jason Garble is a branding, yes, branding is right. He's a branding expert. And so that was his term. He helped me get our like wording more
yeah.
specific to talk to, because I was just talking to vegans and that wasn't who I wanted to be with. So he helped me come up with that phrase.
I love it. Yeah, your whole website, I love everything about it. And you're like reading it and I'm like, "Oh,
Thanks.
this still resonates with me. Like I totally get this." Like so,
Awesome.
yeah.
Thanks. That's good
Well,
to hear. I'm glad you liked it.
I
Sometimes
did.
you do
It's
have
really
some
nice.
work. Yeah.
Yeah. Ashley, our purchasing manager, met you, I think, through an ECRM trade show
Yeah. Hmm.
with Range Me. And then she was like, you've got to know, you've got to meet Amanda. You just got to hear her story. You've got to have her on the podcast. And so I wanted to hear her website. And I was like, oh, I think I do need to meet Amanda. So,
Yeah, that was awesome. Yeah.
yeah. Well, gosh. Well, Amanda, thank you so much for taking the time to do this. We really appreciate you being on the show. And we'll send everybody your way to the website
Awesome.
and Instagram and are there any other social platforms you like to be on?
I'm on Facebook. YouTube is my best. So I'm,
Oh yeah.
in addition to my legacy of kale, so I'm building a YouTube channel. And so if you're just like, "Oh, I want to support your business, but I don't like kale chips, that's fine. If you could subscribe to my YouTube channel, that would be amazing.
I love it.
It really does. So even all of your YouTubers subscribing to their channel is a easy, free way to truly support them. But I also share some really cool things. I make my mom make videos. So if you're over on YouTube and need some entertainment or some good recipes, I'm going to launch some new videos in the next 4 weeks on like tips for new vegans, tips for new vegetarians. So I always put out videos every Friday.
Thank you for listening to this episode of the Nothing But Good podcast. We hope you enjoyed today's show, and if you did, we'd be so grateful if you could leave a review and share this episode with your friends. Before you go, make sure you're subscribed so that you are always the first to know when a new episode is released. And don't forget to follow @OGoodyBox on Instagram so you can get an even deeper look into how we decide which products get placed in our snack boxes. Last but not least, visit ogoodybox.com and make sure you use promo code PODCAST for 15% off your first box. Links to everything are in today's show notes. Until next time, happy snacking.